We weren't even going to the fair that year. It was way too hot, expensive, and far too crowded, but our oldest, Jacob, brought home one of those red raffle wristbands from school. One free family entry, courtesy of some local church or a sponsor, trying to boost attendance. And once our daughter Emily saw that, it was pretty much game over. "Rides," she squealed, "and caramel apples. Oh, and the bunny barn." She was 6 and really big on bunnies. Big on anything small, soft, and safe. So there I was loading up the kids, packed up a sun hat and a water bottle, some extra napkins, and headed out just after 5. The fairgrounds were already buzzing, dirt parking lot packed completely, music thumping from tiny speakers near the ticket gates. The whole place shimmered with that county fair weirdness, half joy, half grit. We did the usual circuit, corn dogs, Ferris wheel, a petting zoo where a goat tried to eat Emily's braid. I held Hannah's hand while the kids giggled and ran circles around us. It was one of those evenings you really think that you'll remember for the rest of your life. I took a photo of Emily feeding this baby cow with a bottle. Her cheeks were sunburned and her eyes were still shining. She looked like joy incarnate. We didn't even realize it was getting dark until the lights had flicked on, one string at a time across the midway. The crowds thickened with teenagers and locals still wearing their work shirts. The air changed. Smelled a lot more like beer and sweat now. The laughter got louder and a lot less innocent. I felt it at first, just then, this flicker of unease, like a cold front rolling underneath the warmth. We stopped near this ring toss booth so that Hannah could buy a funnel cake. Jacob wanted to watch a man carve an eagle out of butter, and Emily said she was thirsty. I passed her the water bottle and squatted to tie my shoe. Maybe 10 seconds, I think that's all it took. And when I looked up, Emily wasn't there. At first, I thought maybe she just wandered off a few feet, maybe toward one of the stuffed animal booths, maybe following a balloon, who knew. I stood and scanned left and right. No purple hoodie, no curly blonde hair, no Emily. "Emily?" I called out. Hannah turns fast and her head was already whipping side to side. She wasn't in sight and she wasn't answering. She was gone. "Emily!" I shouted louder this time. Heads turned, but nobody was stopping. Hannah was already moving, eyes wild, shouting too. She dropped the funnel cake and it splattered everywhere. We split up instinctively. She ran towards the zipper, and I headed back toward the vendor alley. I picked up Jacob and scanned over the heads in the crowd. Purple hoodie, blonde curls, that's all I'm looking for. But there was nothing. The fair wasn't really that big, and that's what I kept telling myself. 5-10 minutes tops and we'd find her, laughing in front of the popcorn stand or petting another goat or crying near the information tent. But 5 minutes passed, and then 10. Every second chewed deeper into something primal within me, something screaming behind my ribs. I checked the bathrooms, the lost kid booth. A sweaty teenager with a staff badge offered to call it over the radio, and I nodded. "She's 6. Blonde hair, curly, purple hoodie with stars on it, pink shoes." He nodded and then muttered something into the walkie-talkie. His voice cracked mid-sentence. He was barely older than a kid himself. Then I heard Hannah scream, and I ran. I found her near the east exit, just outside the row of carnival trailers. She was pointing. There, she cried. "That's her, that's Emily." A man was walking fast across the gravel towards the lot, ball cap, work boots, holding a tiny hand. I only saw her profile for a second, but it was enough. That was my daughter. I sprinted, rage burning away the fear. "Hey! Stop right fucking there!" I roared, and he didn't. He walked faster. I didn't wait. I hit him from behind. And he went down hard too. Emily screamed and Hannah was already pulling her away. Jacob cried behind me. I scrambled up, fists clenched. "Who the fuck are you?" I shouted. But the man didn't speak. He didn't yell. He didn't even protest. He just looked at me, dead-eyed and expressionless. He then tried to stand and I kicked him in the ribs. He groaned but didn't yell. No swearing, no threats. People were gathering up now, phones out. Fair staff came running. One of them then knelt beside Emily. "Sweetheart, are you okay? Did this man do anything to you?" She was crying and shaking hard and clearly unable to speak. I stared down at the man. He didn't look homeless. He didn't look drunk. He looked ordinary. Clean jeans, black t-shirt, Some faded name tag on his belt loop? No name, just a logo that I didn't recognize, something circular, an eye or a spiral. Fair security showed up with radios and zip ties. They cuffed him without a fight. He just sat there, let it all happen. Then he ended up finally speaking to me, not to the staff, not to Hannah, to me. "I wasn't taking her," he said quietly. I blinked. "Okay, then what the fuck were you doing?" His mouth twitched, not a smile, just kind of movement. "She was going with me." I felt my fist clench up again, and I nearly lunged at him once more, but somebody then pulled me back. Hannah had Emily in her arms now, rocking her, whispering soft things, and Jacob was holding onto her leg, wide-eyed and pale. Did he say anything to her? Did he lure her? The security guard shrugged at me. Says he found her crying, says he was walking her to the exit to find her parents. Well, that's fucking bullshit. That's not how he was moving. That's not the look he had in his eyes. Emily was far too shaken to speak, but when they asked her to point out the man who'd held her hand, she didn't hesitate. She pointed right at him. The sheriff showed up 20 minutes later. He took our statements while the fair staff tried to calm things down. A woman had brought us some cold water and stickers for the kids. It felt like a fucking fever dream. I could still see the man's face, still hear him say it. She was going with me. Like he believed it, like she believed it. After he was taken away, the deputy pulled me aside, said he'd picked up others at the fair for similar behavior, loitering near exits, talking to kids, always walking away just before the cops would show up. But nobody ever caught him doing anything, at least not until now. No priors, no ID, no address, no clear employer. He just showed up to places and waited. I asked them if he actually abducted anybody before, but the deputies wouldn't say, just gave me that look cops give you when they don't really want to tell you the truth. We left the fair an hour later. Emily curled up in the back seat between her brother and a stuffed turtle somebody had given to her. She was quiet that entire ride home. When we got inside, she finally spoke to me. "Daddy?" "Yeah, baby." She looked up at me with those huge wet eyes. "He said he knew my name." I froze. "What?" She nodded slowly. "He said, 'Emily, I've been waiting.'" We didn't sleep that night. Hannah stayed curled around Emily like a human shield. I sat on the floor outside their door, baseball bat across my lap, staring at the hallway. Every sound in my house was ear-splitting. Every shadow looked now wrong to me. Around 3 a.m., Emily started talking in her sleep, not words, just like this low mumbling, like she was answering questions, whispering, repeating the same things over and over. I pressed my ear to her door. She was saying her own name over and over. Emily Grace Turner, I'm 6, I live in... I opened up the door and she bolted upright, eyes wide. "He asked me those," she said. "All those questions. He told me not to tell my mommy and daddy." Goosebumps completely filled my body. Hannah then sat up fast. "What else did he say, baby?" Emily looked down at her lap. "He said he'd seen me before, not at the fair, but before." I crouched beside her. "Where, sweetheart?" She hesitated for a moment and then said, "At the park when I was with Grandma and again at the store." My mouth went dry. He'd been watching her. Not just random, it was targeted. Hannah then started crying. "He told me," Emily whispered, "that I'd like his trailer, that it had puppies and my own bed, and he had games, and said I wouldn't have to go to school." She looked up at me. "He said you'd let me go, that you already said yes." I felt my stomach twist. "What? No, baby, no. He was lying to you." She nodded, but I saw something in her eyes in the moment, that flicker of doubt. The sheriff ended up calling the next morning. The name the man had gave was fake. No ID, no record, but he had a truck registered out of state. Inside it, they found a rope, candy, 2 girl-sized sweaters, and a box of hair ties. And I'm not going to say the rest because I'm sure you can put it together. fair smelled like fryer grease and diesel, which honestly was kind of perfect. That's what I wanted. Grease, lights, music blasting from busted speakers, and 𝐾𝐨 on my arm wearing that denim jacket with the sleeves torn off, her hair up in a ponytail, cherry lip gloss, fake ID tucked into her boot. My girl looked like what a rock song sounds like. It was the first Saturday of the season, mid-August, hot as hell with that bite of the wind that says summer's on the way out, the last fair before senior year. I'd borrowed my brother's truck, spent $20 on gas, another $30 on the wristbands, and promised I wouldn't get into any fights. That was the rule. Always the rule with me. 𝐾𝐨 and I had been together for almost a year now. Her mom hated me, said I looked like trouble, and truth is, she wasn't really wrong. I'd gotten into a few things at school, fist fights, yeah, but nothing too serious. I just don't like people mouthing off to me. Still, tonight was supposed to be different. We held hands, ate fried Oreos, screamed our heads off at the tornado, took selfies near the prize pigs, made out under the bleachers. Normal fair shit, you know? But around 10 o'clock, the whole place seemed to change. I didn't really notice at first, but 𝐾𝐨 did, and her grip seemed to tighten on my hand. "Hey," she whispered. "Those guys at the pit stop last week, didn't they start that bar fight?" I followed her gaze. 3 dudes in black leather vests, skull patches, cigarettes hanging off their lips. One of them had a bandage across his nose, like it'd been busted already. I recognized the middle guy immediately, Jared. Big, dumb, and always 3 beers too deep. He was eyeing 𝐾𝐨 like he knew her, like he owned her. "Please ignore it," she said quickly. "Let's just go find a funhouse or something." I nodded, but as we turned to walk, somebody behind us said, "Damn, you clean up good, 𝐾𝐨." I stopped walking, and so did she. That voice, that tone. I turned around already clenching my teeth, and Jared was grinning. Behind him, half a dozen more guys were already heading our way. Not kids, not drunk dads, men. Jared took a long drag off his cigarette, flicked the butt onto the gravel, and it landed near 𝐾𝐨's foot. "Didn't think I'd see you out here with your little project," he said. "Thought you were still slumming it with high schoolers." "I am a high schooler," she said. I stepped between them. "Walk away." He raised both hands like he was impressed. "Damn, he speaks." Behind him, more guys now fanned out. One had brass knuckles, and one wore fingerless gloves. Another had that biker cut with no shirt underneath, just prison ink and sunburn. A crowd had now started to gather, like blood sniffed in the water. Fairgoers were craning their necks, filming already phones out. The lights from the nearby rides were casting everything in this flickering red and green. It felt like a dream, a bad one. "Let's just go, please," 𝐾𝐨 whispered. But Jared stepped forward, close enough for me to smell beer on his breath. "I was just saying hi to her," he said. "No need to get all pissy." Then he grabbed her wrist, and that was it. I hit him, right across the jaw, bone to bone, man to man. Jared stumbled back, but he didn't fall. He laughed and wiped blood off his lip. "Well, all right then." Then it went off like a bomb. He tackled me, others rushed in, and I remember feeling gravel tearing into my back, fists now raining down. I got one of the guys off me, but another kicked me in the ribs, hard as hell. My ears rang, my vision blurred, and I heard 𝐾𝐨 scream. The crowd around us was cheering. I clawed my way back up, swung wild, and caught somebody in the face. He folded. I staggered backward, bleeding from the nose and shoulder throbbing. Somebody then tackled 𝐾𝐨. I saw her hit the ground, arms flailing, her jacket yanked off as she screamed and kicked, and I lost it. I charged full speed into the guy on top of her, shoulder first, and we crashed through a funnel cake booth. Powdered sugar flew like smoke. The guy landed badly, and I felt his shoulder pop. He howled. I tried to grab 𝐾𝐨, but somebody else grabbed me, pulling my head back by the hair and slamming me into the booth wall. Everything spun, and then everybody was screaming. Fair security. 3 of them, big dudes in yellow vests and hats. They had nightsticks and pepper spray and faces like they were tired of this kind of shit. Everybody quickly scattered. I staggered to my feet, with blood now dripping down my chin, 𝐾𝐨 gasping out behind me. One of the bikers tried to square up to guard, got pepper sprayed point blank, dropped like a sack of bricks. They rounded up the rest, Jared included. I watched him get cuffed while he laughed and muttered, "He started it," then spit some blood. 𝐾𝐨 couldn't stop shaking. Her lip was split, her elbow was bleeding, but she was alive, okay, for the most part. Security sat down with us near the back gate and handed us some ice packs. A deputy came by 10 minutes later and asked if we wanted to press charges. 𝐾𝐨 nodded. I didn't say anything. I was too busy watching Jared in the back of the cruiser. I watched him smirk at me. We didn't go to the hospital, just cleaned up at 𝐾𝐨's place. Her mom completely lost it when she saw us. Thought that I dragged her daughter into a gang fight. Yelled until her voice cracked, and I didn't argue with her. I just stood there with dried blood on my shirt, staring at the floor. 𝐾𝐨 kept saying over and over that, "He saved me, Mom. He saved me." She iced my jaw, and I held her hand while her mom packed her things. Then I drove home, slow, one eye half shut and ribs screaming with every bump that I hit. That night I couldn't really sleep, not from the pain exactly, but from the look on Jared's face, that calm smirking wink like this wasn't over, like this wasn't a fight, it was the beginning. Next morning I checked the local news. No arrests were made, no charges, just a short blurb. Altercation at county fair leaves 2 injured. No serious charges filed, and that was that. 𝐾𝐨 called me in tears that afternoon. "Jared found my Instagram," she said. "He messaged me, said it was fun to watch, said next time he won't wait for the crowd." I called the sheriff's office, and they said they'd already been released. No priors, no weapons, just a scuffle. That was the word they used, scuffle. Like it wasn't a pack of full-grown men kicking the shit out of teenagers. I tried messaging him back through 𝐾𝐨's phone and of course got no response. The account disappeared, deleted or fake, I don't know. For weeks I just kept looking over my shoulder, checking under my truck before I would get in, watching headlights behind me for a little too long. But Jared never showed up again. I only stopped at the booth because it didn't belong. The rest of the fair was the usual circus stuff. Carny games, ring tosses, oversized stuffed animals with dirt grounds in the seams. Kids screaming on spinning rides, teenagers smoking behind livestock pens. Loud, grimy, and alive. But tucked away into the far corner of the grounds where the lights didn't quite reach and the gravel turned to dirt was this little stand with a folding table and a banner that read, "Mystery jars, $1. Every jar guaranteed." That's all, no lights, no flare, just a single old man in a brown windbreaker and a folding chair behind the table. He looked like he'd been sitting there since 1963, skin like paper, lips too thin to speak, just staring off into nothing. The jars were lined up across the table in these 2 uneven rows, 30 of them at least, maybe more. Mason jars all cloudy with age, filled with God knows what. Buttons, old dice, teeth, feathers, coins, hair, who knows. And bones, for sure, definitely some with bones. I figured it's the carnival, this is some kind of gimmick, like a prank gum at Spencer's Gifts. Maybe you buy one, you get a slip of paper that says you're cursed, or some kind of dumb trinket like that. But something about the guy's silence made me want to test it all out, so I walked up, slapped down $1, and pointed at a jar near the center. It was murky, cloudy like smoked glass, something pink floating inside, wet and soft looking, about the size of a golf ball. The lid was sealed in what looked like wax and twine. The old man didn't say a word, just slid the jar toward me with 2 fingers, then folded his hands back up again, and that was that. No thank you, no sales pitch. I carried the jar off around the fair for the first hour, showed it to my buddy Carson, who called it gnarly, offered me $5 for it. I said no, and for some reason I felt like I needed to open it myself. So that night, back in my room, I set it on my desk and started to study it. Up close, the thing inside was not plastic for sure. It was soft, organic, veiny, like raw meat soaked in vinegar. I cut the twine off, pried off the wax seal, and cracked the lid. The smell immediately hit me first, like something rotted in a bucket of bleach. I gagged and stepped back. It wasn't overpowering, just wrong, chemically and sweet with this whiff of copper. I used a pencil to poke the object inside, and it bobbed slightly when I did. That's when I realized what it actually was, a human tooth, still rooted in a chunk of gray-pink gum tissue, the blood capillaries frozen in place, still wet and still fresh looking. I dropped the jar. It hit the desk and rolled, but didn't break. That's when I saw this slip of paper tucked at the bottom, curled against the glass like a fortune cookie message. I used tweezers to fish it out. It said, "Thank you for your donation. Jar number 7, now available." My mouth went dry. I looked back at the lid. There, stamped into the rusted metal, was a number 6. I thought about calling somebody, my parents, the cops, anybody, but what would I really say? Hey, I bought this mason jar from a mute crypt keeper, and now I think he's collecting people's mouths. Besides, I didn't know if it was actually human, not really. It could have been a pig tooth or something, some kind of horror prop, soaked in fake blood, right? That's exactly what I told myself to calm myself down, till I went back. The next evening, skipped the rides and made a beeline for that corner. Booth, still there. Old man still sat there like a statue, but the jars, they were different now, fewer. Right where my jar had been, front row, third from the left. There's a new one, still cloudy, still wax sealed. But this one had something floating in it, long and pale, almost translucent. I stepped forward. It was a finger. It had to be, still wearing some kind of silver ring, and I felt bile rise up in my throat. The man looked up at me for the first time. His eyes were pale and milky blue, cataract clouded. But they focused on me with this unsettling precision, like he recognized me now. This guy was gonna cut me up and put me in the next batch of jars. I could feel it. I turned and walked away fast, left the fairgrounds without looking back, got in my car and locked the doors. And still, when I checked the rearview mirror before leaving, I saw him standing there, waving at me. I peeled out of there and blasted for home. I spoke to Carson the next day, and he said he bought a jar too, and it didn't have anything in it but marbles. But he did say when he tried to leave, the place was a loop. No exits, just marching in this endless circle for the better part of 90 minutes. He felt like he was going crazy. Soon there were less people, mostly staff, and they were all smiling at him. It wasn't until he found his family again talking about heading home that he got out. He followed them until the exit appeared, and sure as shit, there's the parking lot. He said it really scared him, but I can't help but wonder if he was about to be jars 8, 9, or 10. I should have known that something was off when Jonah told me, "My family runs most of the fair." Not just, "My uncle works at the Tilt-A-Whirl," or "My cousin sells corn dogs." He meant runs it, like from the ground up. Tents, wiring, garbage, the whole thing. It was mid-July and the heat was still hanging heavy at sundown. We were supposed to just hang out. I thought we'd hit the bumper cars, maybe flirt with girls from out of town, blow $20 trying to win a Switchblade plush. That's at least what I pictured when he told me, "You want to come to the fair? My family's got passes." We were both 16 at the time, no license yet. His mom dropped us off and didn't even stick around to watch us go in. Just waved with a puff of smoke, then watched her taillights vanish down the gravel road. And the fairgrounds? Jesus. I've been to carnivals before, the ones with big ticket booths and slick security, but this wasn't that. This was old canvas, crooked rides, signs painted by somebody who clearly couldn't spell. The zipper wheel whizzed like a dying animal. The fried dough smelled like burnt oil and vinegar. Everything had this really used feeling. But Jonah was beaming. He wore this ratty green fair t-shirt that said staff on the back with holes in the armpits, and everywhere we went, somebody seemed to clap him on the shoulder. Guys with gray teeth, girls with facial tattoos, kids that looked pretty half feral. Every few minutes he'd say something like, "That's my cousin Joey," or "She's my Aunt Lurleen," but not by blood. Not by blood. He said that a lot. We didn't stand in line for anything, just walked behind any booth, under ropes, ducked into tents that said employees only, and nobody said anything or stopped us. Hell, they smiled as we went. this wide, slow grin that would immediately give me the creeps. Eventually, we passed the Ferris wheel, headed toward the edge of the grounds where the generators whined and the lights didn't quite reach anything. Jonah stopped in front of this striped red and white tent with no signage. "You ever seen a real clown gag?" he asked me. I laughed. "Like a pie in the face?" "No," he said. "Something much better. My cousin's got this whole bit that he's been working on." The canvas walls of the tent flapped in the breeze. From inside came this soft, breathy wheezing, like somebody blowing into a balloon, but they never stopped to take a breath. I glanced at the sign posted near the entry flap, "Performers Only." There was this smeared handprint beneath it as well. I don't know about this, man," I said to him. "Is this like, are we even allowed to be in here?" Jonah grinned at me. "Relax, you're with me." He pushed open the flap and gestured me inside. "Go in first, trust me, it's gonna be funny as hell." I stepped into that tent. It was dark, not pitch black, more like the inside of an old barn at dusk. Slits of golden light peeked through the seams in the canvas, and everything smelled like latex and mildew. The ground wasn't dirt, it was padded, springy like gym mat foam underneath my feet. I took a step and felt it give slightly, like walking on something alive, and my shoes even made this faint squishing noise. Behind me, the flap closed. I turned and then Jonah was gone. Dude?" I called out, voice already cracking. "Where'd you go?" The wheezing I'd heard outside had now gotten louder. It came from somewhere deeper in the tent, just beyond the reach of the ambient light. It was wet, rhythmic, inhale, exhale, and then a laugh, a single laugh, and a spotlight then snapped on. It lit up this folding chair smack dab in the middle of the tent, and sitting in that chair was a clown. Not a happy one or even a sad one. This one was slack-jawed. His makeup was faded, almost like it had been applied days ago. Black triangles under his eyes that were smudged. Red lipstick slashed far beyond his lips like it had been applied with a spoon. He didn't move. He didn't blink. He just stared at me with this foggy gray gaze. And then a second spotlight popped on. Another clown. This one was hanging upside down from the rafters like a bat. And I swear to God, strapped in by the ankles, head tilted at this weird broken angle, arms dangling. His mouth was open like he was about to scream, but no sound was coming from it. I stepped backwards, that squish again beneath my feet, and I looked down. Not padding, it was rubber, deflated balloons, hundreds of them. Some popped and some long and twisted, some animal shaped and some not. Some were veiny, fleshy looking. Then another laughter came. This time it was a lot closer. And then the lights shut off, all of them. I spun, groping blindly in the dark. Another light blinked on, a strobe light this time, harsh, flickering like a broken camera flash. And in those rapid pulses, I saw them. Clowns, 3 of them, then 5 of them, then more. All crawling on the floor, slumped against the canvas walls. One was curled up in a fetal position, rocking back and forth, grinning so wide I thought his jaw was about to crack. I bolted toward the exit, and I ran straight into something soft and wet. Arms then wrapped around me, big ones, hairy, and I caught a glimpse of something smeared white paint on a bare sagging chest, a distended belly with red suspenders, and breath hot and sour then blew across my ear. "Don't leave," it whispered, and I screamed. It didn't matter, the clown dragged me to the ground, rolling me up with this mess of pop balloons. I kicked and elbowed and felt something crunch under my heel, but whatever it was didn't grunt. It just laughed again, louder now, echoing across the tent like a chorus of dying children. Then the lights went solid. I blinked and sat up. I was surrounded, 8 or 9 of them, all in different outfits, some half-dressed, some with yellowed undershirts, some in full grease paint. Only one wore a wig and clown shoes, nothing else. He was crouched and chewing on something, a chunk of fabric, maybe a glove. They all looked at me like I was prey, no movement, no blinking, and I slowly stood up. I heard a woman's voice coo from behind me. "Well, well, what do we have here?" I turned around and it was another clown, though barely. Her makeup was smeared to the point of resembling a skull, and she wore a wedding dress, tattered and trailing behind her like moldy lace. Her eyes were completely black. Contacts, I told myself. It has to be contacts. She walked toward me smiling, and in her hands, she held this rubber chicken with a razor blade tucked through the beak. "Time for the bid," she said. I stumbled backwards and slammed into one of the other clowns, and he grabbed my arms. "No, hey!" I shouted, struggling hard now. Let me go!" Another clown then grabbed my legs, and another clamped a hand over my mouth. I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I could barely even breathe. The wedding dress clown then raised the chicken like it was some sacrificial dagger and pressed the blade just under my chin. Not enough to draw blood, just enough to threaten me. Her voice was cold now. "This is what happens when you trespass," she said. And then, all the lights came on, harsh white fluorescent lights, bleaching the entire tent. Laughter then exploded, followed by rolling applause. Jonah then burst in through the flap, followed by 5 or 6 more people in mechanic shirts and denim vests. He was dying laughing. "Dude," he howled at me. "You should have seen your face. You were crying." I dropped to my knees, heart hammering like a jackhammer, legs shaking so bad I couldn't even stand. The clowns let go all at once, acting like it was no big deal. Some then clapped Jonah on the back, and others pointed at me and chuckled. One leaned in and said to me, "You got guts, kid." I couldn't speak. I barely could even think. Jonah helped me up. "Come on, man. It's just a joke. It's tradition. Every year, somebody gets the prank show. They never see it coming. You're lucky. It's usually worse." I stared at him trying to understand, and my throat was burning the whole time. "These guys," he said, gesturing around the tent, "they're all my cousins, been in the biz forever. Real pros." He said it with pride, like it was supposed to explain everything. I turned back and looked at them. They were all standing there watching me, no longer laughing, no longer smiling. The woman in the wedding dress held that rubber chicken loose in her hand. The razor blade was now gone. I didn't say another word on the walk back through the fairgrounds. Jonah laughed the entire time, slapping my shoulder like we just watched a horror movie together. "Dude, seriously, your scream though. Classic." I think Rollo actually pissed himself. The lights of the rides around me no longer looked fun. The music from the carnival sounded warped. It sounded like I was underwater. Everything felt wrong now. When we passed the corn dog stand, one of Jonah's cousins called out, "Come back anytime, kid. Next time we'll do the chainsaw bit." Laughter followed us. I wanted to go home, but Jonah's mom wouldn't be back for at least another hour, so I sat near the exit gate, stared at my shoes, still dusted with bits of latex and glitter. One of the clowns came up from behind the barrier, no makeup, just a bald man in coveralls with dead eyes. He leaned in against the fence and said to me, "Hey, you lasted longer than the last one." I didn't say anything, didn't have a response for him. He grinned and then walked off whistling, like some fucked up version of Send in the Clowns. And I'm sure you can probably assume and or guess this, but I have never been back to a fair or a carnival ever since.